So as a former chief engineer, can you explain what the main reduction gear is and why it's important?
Certainly. So the main reduction gear, in its simplest terms, is the transmission, right? It converts the high-speed, low-torque output of the gas turbines or of the prime mover into a low-speed, high-torque output to turn the shaft of the ship. And it allows us to do some of the maintenance items required, such as clutching in and out the transmission to rotate the MRG, to rotate the gearing without actually turning the shaft.
Okay. And so I think lubrication is an important piece of that process. Why is the main lube oil system so important to the main reduction gear?
The main reduction gear is a case of gears, and because of that, because it's metal on metal, the lube oil system is absolutely critical to the operation of the MRG. And like everything we do, constant, regular, and preventative maintenance on that lube oil system is critical to ensure proper operation. And if something is operating not in accordance with specifications, the only way to determine that early enough is to do the inspections and the preventative maintenance, such as the lube oil samples, as required by both the tech manuals and the PMS.
Okay. There's also a dehumidifier on the system. What is that?
So the dehumidifier, if you're not operating the lube oil system, the dehumidifier is in place to, if not prevent completely, then at least minimize the chance of corrosion inside the MRG. So it's absolutely vital, if you don't have the lube oil system aligned and you're not actively providing lube oil to the MRG, that the humidifier be online, operating correctly to draw that moisture out and prevent corrosion.
Okay. Now there's a periodic assessment of the flow patterns and spray patterns inside the MRG. Can you describe that process and why it's important?
Certainly. So there are several required PMS procedures for the MRG. One of them being the verifying the spray patterns. It is possible that the continuous operation of the lube oil system can actually draw in contaminants even from outside the MRG, from the lube oil system itself. Certainly we've seen muslin bags that have gotten sucked into to the purifier, sucked into through the lube oil filters. We've seen those that external contaminants cause blockages in the lube oil nozzles. And when that happens, you're not getting the complete coverage that you need inside to thoroughly cover the gearing inside the MRG. So those inspections are to ensure that flow is unblocked, that those lines are clear, and that if there is corrosion inside the MRG, that corrosion isn't preventing proper lubrication of the gearing.
Okay. And from your perspective, what are the consequences of an MRG failure?
So we've seen the consequences of MRG failures across the fleet in the past even year. With several ships due to bad oil, failed oil samples, or incorrect PMS on both the dehumidifier as well as the normal operation of the lube oil system. And what that does is not only is it an extremely expensive piece of equipment, but it causes delays in their maintenance schedule, which of course causes delays and severe impacts into the Navy's operational schedule. So when those ships have to come off station, or if their maintenance period is prolonged because of MRG maintenance, then that means another ship has to be out there, another crew has to be doing the job that ship was assigned. So it can have a pretty severe impact, not just to that ship's schedule, but to the fleet as a whole.
Okay. And as an assessor, what advice would you give chief engineers, and what advice would you give to the sailors performing PMS on this system?
So as an assessor, my advice to any chief engineer, especially those who are coming into their first chief engineer tour, coming into their first command, an open MRG inspection is part of the recommended chief engineer turnover item. So after completing the SWAS Prospective Engineering Officer course up in Rhode Island, I felt comfortable coming to my first ship as a chief engineer. I felt comfortable doing that, and I did that as part of my turnover. The schoolhouse goes over it. They emphasize the procedural compliance required to do it successfully. And so for me, knowing what you're inheriting is a big piece of that. So it's in the benefit of the oncoming chief engineer, as well as it benefits the ship to open up that MRG and see where we stand. And that's a great way to get on top of any ongoing corrosion problems or spray nozzle issues.
Okay. How difficult did you find it to perform this PMS, the nozzle inspection?
For me, I didn't find it difficult at all to perform the maintenance. It takes longer to inventory all your items, to dress out, to tape up, to follow all the safety precautions of this assessment than it is to actually open up the access panels and do the inspection. And because of that, because it takes longer to do the prep work, a lot of times shortcuts are taken on the prep work, but that's going to be what prevents you from contaminating the MRG and causing a problem where there may or may not be one already. That's right, so anytime you open up the MRG, there's always a chance of something falling in, whether it's coming from debris or dirt around the access cover, coming from the overhead, or coming from the person who's actually standing in front of that opening. So the safety precautions, the taping up of buttons or snaps, and the taping over the pockets, all of that's absolutely essential to prevent doing any sort of damage. During my first chief engineer tour, I actually met with a lot of resistance from longtime engineers because there wasn't the PMS requirement wasn't there for it, and they didn't want to take any risk by opening up the MRG. All right, and so it's maintenance, and it's a material check that you have to respect the precautions for, but it's not something that you should be afraid to do. It's like I said, it's in the best interest during turnover for the oncoming chief engineer, along with the outgoing chief engineer, to do that assessment, to open it up, to look at it, to see where they stand. And as long as you follow the precautions, the risk is limited, and you control the risk by adhering to those precautions.